What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best Rime build in Fellowship. So in this guide we are covering everything that you need to know how to build both the setups, the avalanche Rime build and the freezing torrent build, and how to play her effectively, from the best talents in the gear setups to the stat priorities, relic choices, and optimized rotations for both single target and AoV fights. Rime is a ranged spellcaster who channels the raw power of the ice to freeze her enemies and unleash devastating bursts of damage. She is built around the Builder-Spender system that powers her unique mechanic, the Winter's Orb. Every ability that you cast will either regenerate or consume these orbs, and mastering how to manage them is the key to playing Rime at a high level. The goal with this hero is simple: generate the Winter Orbs, unleash massive spenders during the Winter's Embrace windows, and make sure that every big spell lands when your buffs are active. Her kit will flow beautifully when you understand the rhythm of her bursts. She's got a massive AoV potential, incredibly strong single target damage, and a rotation that feels fluid once you get into the groove. The Winter's Orb is the core of your gameplay loop. You can hold up to 5 of them, and if you overcap, then you're wasting potential damage, so timing is everything. You generate orbs with the Frost Bolt, Cold Snap and the Freezing Torrent, and you spend them through the Glacial Blast for single target or Ice Comet when you're fighting multiple enemies. Bursting Ice also contributes to your orb generation, but you want to save it for one of your damage windows, since it activates the Winter's Embrace. Also, if you're interested in buying Fellowship with a 30% discount or even other PC or console games with 50 to 70% off, then check out Instant Gaming. For example, I want to buy Elden Ring, so we just click on Add to Cart, then click Pay, and then finish the purchase. After payment is complete, we will receive an activation key, so copy and paste it in your Steam, and it's that simple. Click my link in the description to check out Instant Gaming for yourself. So, let's take a look at the talents. As Rime, your main goal is to fit as much of your damage as possible. Her talents are built to enhance your orb generation, empower your spenders, and extend or amplify your burst windows. As I mentioned at the start, we have two builds, and the first one is the Avalanche Rime build, that is perfect for both early and mid-game progression. At level 2, you grab the Winter's Embrace. This talent is mandatory, because your entire playstyle revolves around it. It's what gives you that 20% buff whenever Bursting Ice is active, so getting this first will ensure that you immediately start learning how to play around the burst windows. At level 3, pick up the Burst Bolter, which lets your Frostbolt hits accelerate your orb generation and slightly increase your damage output. This makes your filler rotation much smoother and faster. At level 4, add the Never's Keeper. This boosts your survivability slightly and adds a reactive element to your casting by giving your kit more flow when you're generating the Winter's Orbs. Then by level 5, it's time for the Avalanche. This is your first major damage spike. Avalanche will empower your spells to occasionally unleash a burst of falling ice that deals AoV damage around your target. It adds a ton of value in both single target and cleave fights. Then at level 6, you will want the Winter's Embrace, the Burst Bolter, Avalanche and Never's Keeper. They are very strong together, as they have a very OP core that sets up your playstyle. Then at level 7, you unlock the Icy Flow, which smooths out your cooldowns and lets you fit more casts inside your damage window. It's small, but incredibly effective at making your gameplay feel fluid. At level 8, pick up the Greater Glacial Blast, which is your first major spender enhancement. This turns the Glacial Blast into a heavy-hitting nuke when used with multiple Winter's Orbs, as it helps you line up those huge single target bursts inside the Winter's Embrace. By level 9, you wanna grab the Biting Cold, which increases your critical strike chance and causes your frost abilities to slow enemies harder. It's great for control and synergizes as well with your crit-based gear scaling. At level 10, unlock the Frost Weaver's Wrath, which is a big boost to your damage potential that also empowers your spenders to hit even harder during the burst phases. Then at level 12, add the Wisdom of the North, which increases your intellect and grants additional spell power, which is a direct multiplier to everything you do. And finally, by level 13, you will round things out with the Cascade Blitz, which is a late game powerhouse that boosts your burst sequence when you start stringing together critical hits. And then on the other hand, we also have the Freezing Torrent Rime build, which becomes the go-to setup in the later stages of the game. This build revolves around the legendary cloak, the Drake's Blood Leprosy, and focuses on maximizing the damage from the Freezing Torrent. The rotation doesn't really change from the Avalanche version. You are still building orbs, triggering the Winter's Embrace, and spending everything inside that buff, but every aspect of the Freezing Torrent is just now supercharged. So at level 13, your talent setup will look like this: the Winter's Embrace Supreme Torrent, Burst Bolter, the Coalescing Frost, the Soul Frost Torrent, Cascading Blitz, and the Wisdom of the North. This combination will push the Rime's AoE damage through the roof, while keeping her single target bursts insanely high. Then, when it comes to gear, specifically for weapons, Rime has few solid options, but one stands above the rest. The Void Touch Scandiant is your best in slot choice. It applies a debuff to your target for 15 seconds, storing 20% of all of the damage you deal and releasing it in a massive explosion when the effects end or when you reach the damage threshold. It's perfect for boss fights and high priority targets where sustain output pays off. If you don't have that yet, then the Ashes Chrono Shift Spire is also an excellent alternative. This staff creates a channeled aerial of effect around you, pulsing damage and granting a 400% cooldown reduction, while taking 50% less damage. It's both an offensive and defensive option, and even worth using inside your Winter's Embrace for maximum uptime. Then, as far as the set bonuses go, ideally you will want to run 4 set bonus piece and fill the rest with the socket gear to maximize the gem power. The 2 best sets for the Rime is the Death's Grasp, which provides an execute style effect that scales harder the longer a fight goes, and then the Dark Prophecy, which grants a 25% haste buff that procs once per minute and is a massive boost, since the haste directly increases your orb generation and the smoothness. Then for legendaries, the best all-around option is the Scandi Sabatons of the Endless Winter, which increases the duration of your Winter's Embrace window, allowing you to fit more spenders into that short burst phase. But if you're running the Freezing Torrent setup, then swap to the Drake's Blood Creepersy, which massively boosts the Frozen Torrent and the Cold Snap by letting you tear through both the single targets and cleave packs alike. Then we got Relics, and the best overall option is the Sin Bidding Stone, which gives you and your allies a 50% damage reduction for 15 seconds on a 3-minute cooldown. It's an incredible defensive tool for group play and boss fights. Then for the secondary option, the Grimoire of Resurrection is excellent. If your team lacks a combat res, then the Ancient Wardstone is another strong pick by instantly dispelling the harmful magic effects from the group on a 2-minute cooldown. And if you want a self-sustain option, then the Salt Wash Elixir will heal you for 40 seconds of your max HP, which is great for surviving very hard boss mechanics. For Rime, item level and intellect are always your top priorities, since they scale off your damage and survivability. After that you wanna stack haste, which lowers your global cooldowns, reduces the cast times, and increases your orb generation rate. The faster you generate orbs, the more you can spend inside the Winter's Embrace, so it is as simple as that. After that, Critical Strike and Expertise are about equal in value. The crits give you those explosive damage spikes and interacts with the talents like the Bidding Cold, while Expertise gives you consistent flat damage gains. And finally, Spirit rounds out things by reducing your ultimate cooldown and occasionally refunding the Winter's Orbs. It's useful but not something to chase over the haste or crit. So overall, your stat priority is intellect, then haste, then crit and expertise, and then the spirit. Early on, you don't want to waste currency rerolling tier 1 gems, just save that for the higher tier gear, once your gem power scaling actually matters. For the gem types, the Topaz will grant haste, Ruby increases your main stat, Amethyst will boost the crit, Emerald gives you expertise, Diamond increases all secondary stats, and then the Sapphire empowers your abilities inside your ultimate. At lower tiers, prioritize Topaz first, then Amethyst, then Ruby, then Diamond, then Emerald, and finish it off with the Sapphire. Once you start reaching higher levels and the Paragon content, then you want to go all in on the Topaz for the extra haste, as it scales insanely well with the Rime's entire kit. And now finally, let's see how to actually play this build. This Rime build revolves around maintaining a steady flow of Winter's Orbs and spending them inside the Winter's Embrace. Your cooldowns dictate your pacing, and your job is to ensure that you never overcap orbs, while keeping your burst phase perfectly timed. So for single target, your Winter's Embrace window should start with the Flight of the Navir into the Bursting Ice, then the Freezing Torrent or the Glacial Blast depending on the orb count, and then followed by the Cold Snap. Outside of this rotation, you wanna keep generating orbs with the Frost Bolt and the Cold Snap, and use Glacial Blast or Torrent when you're close to capping. However, for AoV fights, open with the Winter's Embrace window with the Freezing Torrent, then follow it with the Bursting Ice, and then drop 2 Ice Comets back to back for huge cleave damage. Between the windows, you wanna use Frost Bolt and the Cold Snap to rebuild orbs and prep for the next round. Then your ultimate, the Wrath of the Winter, does not change your core rotation, but supercharges your abilities, letting you cast and spend orbs more aggressively. Just make sure to always use your orbs before it ends, to avoid wasting potential damage.